What's going on, everybody? Wanted to record a quick video update prior to the FOMC news release in about 30 minutes from now. And a lot of people were asking, were asking me to record a video prior to news and also to quickly overview the GBPUSD trade idea from this morning. So first things first, I want to talk about news. The anticipation, the forecast is for them to keep the rates the same. If we take a look at previous, history of the FOMC kind of interest rate news with the US dollar, um, for the most part, their forecasts have been pretty well on point. However, we could potentially see something different from the forecast just because there's been a lot of back and forth between Trump and Jerome Powell, who is the chairman of the Federal Reserve. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in 30 minutes based on price action, though, and what we're seeing. If we were to take a look at, we'll come back to GU in a second. If we were to take a look at DXY, okay, daily time frame perspective, as of right now, we are rejecting from this order block on the daily time frame, and there's reason for us to potentially trade lower. Although the anticipation at the beginning of the week was for us to continue higher from here, it's not out of the question for price to trade lower on DXY. We could certainly reject from this order block and, potentially come to sweep this low and this low while trading down into potentially this lower order block before going higher. So that's kind of just daily time frame perspective. If we look at the weekly, we discussed this at the beginning of the week as well. We are trading inside of this weekly time frame significant candle or an order block. And we also filled a little fair value gap here as well. So far, we're respecting that zone. I think with FOMC news, we'll kind of have the confidence in overall direction for the rest of the week. And based on the 4 hour time frame, if we're taking a look at overall what we're seeing, even just with today's price action, dollar is looking fairly weak after having captured some significant liquidity, right? We swept, relatively equal highs here in this range of consolidation from Tuesday, right? We saw the kind of buy to now sell motion. And so having seen these highs taken out on DXY while still respecting kind of this range from high to low from, this is last Thursday to, the low of this week on Monday. There's been a lot of liquidity captured inside this range. And so far, it actually does look like we're going to potentially come lower on DXY. Now, whether that means we're going to go and create a new low below Monday's low or potentially just return into the inefficiency here from Monday's price action, that's a whole nother story. We are going to have to just wait and see what happens. But I would be certainly confident in us taking out this low on DXY for FOMC, whether that's with the FOMC news release right at the top of the hour here or shortly afterwards going into tomorrow's trading day. I would not be surprised if we're trading beneath this low. It's very easy, kind of low-hanging fruit, liquidity for price to capture. And so that's kind of where we're at with the DXY. If we take a look at GBPUSD, something I really liked about this and the reason that I was very confident taking buys despite this massive, I mean, think about it from a retail trader perspective. And maybe some of you felt this way when I called out the trade idea. Not very many people are going to be confident buying when you see an hourly candle print like this. Okay, 15-minute time frame, two massive bearish candles, and then a little bit of consolidation going into like 8:30, 9 a.m. Eastern. The reason I had so much confidence buying from this area, and we talked about this actually on a call, I believe it was on Tuesday. There was really two scenarios. It was either from where we were trading on Tuesday, I was going to look for potential sells if we traded higher into this fair value gap to then target these lows. Okay. We had this low, these were equal lows at the time. There's now this low, right? This low prior to this order block. Or if we broke lower first, I was going to be curious to see what happened inside this order block for buys. So taking a look at today's price action, when we melted with this 1 hour candle, we took out significant areas of liquidity across the board. And this was obviously a low that was taken out previously as well. So while leaving behind these relatively equal highs. And then the price action that we saw trading inside of this order block just gave me the conviction to take buys from this zone. And obviously, it's ended up working out very, very nicely. and favorably. Okay, we had beautiful, beautiful reaction from this zone. I actually caught a re-entry as well out of this 5 minute fair value gap overlapping the order block. So some of you might have seen that in my MetaTrader 5 screenshot. This was a really, really clean re-entry. So even for people that missed the original signal, which was inside of this smaller time frame accumulation, in the hourly time frame point of interest as well, look how price runs away, leaves behind a fair value gap overlapping this order block, last two down candles prior to the up move. Obviously, there's this one as well, but mainly these two prior to this up move. Look how price comes back for you. Okay, there's always re-entry opportunity if you miss the initial area. You just got to be able to identify that. So I ended up stacking a position on there. And, after this high was taken out, I was pretty confident we were going to be seeing a continuation. And obviously, we went break even, and now we're just waiting to see that take profit get achieved. Now, bigger picture, if we're taking a look at the daily time frame on GU, a consideration for those of you guys that are still holding this trade to consider something to just think about is we have respected this daily time frame fair value gap really nicely. And I would not be surprised if this is the low of the week that we've actually bought from on GBPUSD. Obviously, time will tell. This could still trade lower. Maybe we end up having a bearish week overall, and this is just, a little retracement before we continue lower. That's possible, right? But right now, based on price action, certainly looking to close out more partials at these highs. But I wouldn't even be surprised if this ends up being the low of the week and we continue going into Thursday, Friday really impulsively to potentially even close above these highs on the 4 hour time frame at like 126 to end off the week. Might be a little bit of a stretch. We'll see if we even get that or not. But that's kind of the anticipation. And like I said, with that Fomc news, my anticipation would be for dollar to trade lower, GU to trade higher. Same thing with euro as well. Gold. I'm not really looking to play gold at the moment, although we did have a buy limit from Tuesday. I would probably delete this buy limit if you still have it set, just based on price action. We already ran and achieved take profit area. So if you still have the buy limit on gold, I would suggest to delete it. But one area that we did trade into that I was looking at earlier today was this fair value gap. So far, we're respecting it. Although I would not be surprised with FOMC news if we take out these lows and trade a little bit deeper into this area on gold to potentially get a bounce. Okay, that's just something to consider. I will update you guys if I end up taking any sort of a position on this. But my current anticipation, would be for us to trade deeper into this 4 hour fair value gap. And like I said, on the hourly time frame, I would not be surprised if we sweep these relatively equal lows. A lot of people are probably buying with stop losses beneath these. So if we get some sort of a spike with FOMC lower, that could be offering potential buying opportunities. But for now, sitting on my hands with gold. EU, very similar to GU. There was, a nice kind of rejection out of this order block. I mean, we traded pretty deep into it. GU was much cleaner, which is why, decided to take buys on GU. But nonetheless, we saw a sharp sell-off with 8 a.m. and a reaction. I'm just going to delete this stuff as it's a lot of noise at the moment. But would not be surprised if with Euro, we end up taking out, these relatively equal highs with FOMC news. Okay. What we might see with FOMC news, something to be mindful of, is a spike lower, trading back into, and this is the same thing with GU as well, trading back into something like this order block and or filling this fair value gap to then continue higher. If we get this, I would probably be looking to add a position with FOMC news. If we get a spike lower back into this area, I would probably be interested in seeing price continue higher for these, areas of liquidity that we've highlighted on both Euro and GBPUSD. Obviously, if you're in the buy already on GU, you don't necessarily need to add to your position. But I wouldn't be surprised if we come back to this order block, with FOMC news, maybe a spike lower and then continuation higher, or we just trade higher, and that's a possibility as well. So either way, news is looking very favorable for us. Wanted to record this video prior to FOMC news release, and looking forward to seeing you guys on tomorrow's live New York analysis session at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you guys there.